Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Julie Allig, aka the Data Diva. Thank you so much for joining me on my Friday afternoon live stream. You know that I go live here just about every Friday at 3 in the afternoon Eastern Time, 12 noon on the West Coast. And today I am so excited to have someone else to talk to here on this live stream. I'd like to introduce you all to Lisa Keslar. She is co-owner of Keslar Insurance, and she'll have a few more things to say about her company and what it does. It's located on the seacoast here in New Hampshire, and I so enjoy talking with Lisa. I know you will too. We are both people who love numbers, and I wanted to have her on to be able to talk about, as a business owner, how in the heck she's using numbers in her business to just be rocking everything. So, Lisa, please, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me here. I love talking about business and how to use information, right, to continue to grow. I have the privilege of co-owning Keslar Insurance with my husband, David. We have a fantastic team that works 2 offices, one in Newmarket, New Hampshire, and one in Rochester, New Hampshire. And we are an independent agency. So that means we insure things, homes and cars and businesses. We do that for people and companies in New Hampshire, Maine, and Mass. As an independent agency, we shop for your insurance for you, right? We're a broker. We offer leading regional and national carriers to provide the right products and services for our clients. So that's a high level overview of what our business does. And then I'm excited to talk to you about how we do it.
Yeah, let's dive right in then. When you talk about using data in your business, data is a really broad term. So, what kinds of data do you use on a regular basis that really is helping you guide your decisions?
Huge question, right? So, and it falls into all sorts of different buckets, right? So there's standard daily, how many quotes we do to how many deals we close. So we're tracking sort of our sales numbers. We're tracking our year over year monthly numbers. We're tracking our year over year numbers in terms of revenues, in terms of new business and renewal business. We're tracking renewals and retention rates. So on the sales side, we have a whole bunch of numbers like that are really important to us, and we break it down by type of client, whether it's the personal side or the business side, and we track the carriers and where it's coming from and tracking trends and those kinds of things. We do a really robust forecast for each year to see where we stand, and we can plan accordingly based upon those numbers. So just on the general high level business side, we're tracking that. Of course, we're tracking expenses and those things. And then we're also doing tracking of marketing information, right? Our analytics for our engagement, whether it's social media or email campaigns. We also do a lot of tracking of data of referral sources. We really track where our business comes from. And one, we can thank people who refer us. And two, it really helps us to determine where to invest, where to spend our time. So those are just some of the buckets of things that we look at, but they're some of the bigger ones.
So that was awesome. That was a great answer. I've got so many follow-up questions. I'll limit myself to maybe 1 or 2, and you take it in whatever direction you want to go. First is, okay, you just rattled off a whole lot of numbers and pieces of data and types of methods for looking at data. I heard you say you do robust forecasting. I heard you say you do month over month, year over year, those sorts of things. You're doing a lot. I'm going to assume that you all didn't just start with this. It's almost like you've got a buffet there of all kinds of data. What did you start with? What were the foundational things that you began to look at, and then I'm going to assume you just built and built more?
Yes and no. The stuff that we're looking at is pretty simple, and it's pretty common information. That I think the trick is the key is to have systems in place that allows this data to be compiled simply, right? So it's not so much we're using our own industry specific CRMs that allow us, and so customer relationship management systems and quoting systems and those kinds of things that all have really strong reporting. So it allows us to do this stuff pretty easily. It's not like the old days where you'd actually have to keep ledgers or someone would spreadsheets, right? We have systems that are tracking all this. And we thought it was really important from our agency from day one to be very technology focused. So we have the ability to, and we've actually changed our systems more than once to our employees' chagrin to make sure that we're getting the best data possible. Like we know that our information, our ability to service and support and grow our customers and grow our business is only as good as our ability to control the data in our business.
Mhm.
So not only are we looking at metrics, but we also are collecting all sorts of very important data when it comes to managing our relationships with our clients. Not only do we have these metrics that we use for measurement, but we use this data that tells us about our client engagement. So when someone calls, we can all see the notes and the records of every communication and every interaction, and we can see every email, we can see every text, and we can see everything that's been sent to them. And we can really know the history and the relationship of that account, which allows us to service them better. So we use the technology in a variety of ways, and reporting is just one of those nice portions of that overall technology.
I'm curious. So much of running a business and having these tech systems in place, your CRM and your other software systems, a lot of it is having the right one installed and being able to put in the data that you need and get out the data, the analyses, the reports that you need. But there's also a human element to it. And the human element is that someone actually has to put in the information. It sounds like you all have that nailed. I wonder if you could share any thoughts or
Yeah.
feedback
Oh my God.
on that.
Yeah, no, the staff wouldn't agree. We're really good. I will say our staff is really good. And we're first to, there's a lot of banter in the office, even, oh, such and such didn't put notes in, and you give them a hard time. And, but all in everyone understands and respects the fact that we're all human and sometimes things happen. But the team's really dedicated to do their best job when it comes to that because they've all seen the benefit of having good information in. So whether you're on the sales side, you obviously want your sales numbers in because that really impacts your commissions. So a lot of times people will spend time on what they're measured on or what they're rewarded on. So we have a lot of systems in place that encourage us to collect that data. So even the systems and the technology we use have, required fields or safeguards or things that allow us to make sure we capture that information. And then there's some checks and balances for certain things in place that allows things to get caught at different points. But they've all seen how missing information has impacted themselves at some point. So people have gotten really good about saying, wow, if I don't, such and such didn't put information in, it made my job harder. And so I'm not going to do that back to them. So everyone catches things really quickly, but the systems we do want the systems to be intuitive and not require people to remember to do things as much as possible. We want it to be as intuitive and as possible. So we're always tweaking and improving and changing and learning better ways to do things. And our staff's really great about coming up with, hey, I know our goal is to do X. We're doing it this way, but maybe we could do it a different way. And I appreciate the fact that they're thoughtful like that.
It sounds like I really like the way that you've tied together we need to input this information. We need to take an extra 5 minutes after a client call or a prospective client call and fill in these fields and tick these boxes and all, which is taking time. And sometimes people don't necessarily like doing that kind of work. But what it sounds like you've done is you've allowed your team to see this is why we're doing it. This is how we're using it. And this is how it impacts not just Keslar Insurance, but this impacts you. And
that was some gentle reminders. And yeah, I think we all realize the data is only as good as what's in there, right? And it's really hard if you don't have, if garbage in, garbage out. So it's only as good as what's there. And the team's really thoughtful about it. And we really appreciate that.
That makes sense. You talked also about tracking referral sources And that's something that you and I have talked about in the past. I'm already convinced that it's something that is so helpful. It's another gold mine. I wonder if there's someone who isn't doing that right now and they say, oh, I know who sends me business or something like that. I wonder if there's anything you could say that might
Oh gosh,
lead
do it.
them otherwise.
I guess if you're working 5 deals a year, yeah, maybe you know where you're getting them from. So if
Yep.
you've got your big ERP system sales or something and you're only working a handful of accounts, that's different. In a business like ours where we have thousands of clients, you're never going to remember it all. And you don't see it all, right? We have a staff of multiple employees in 2 different offices. We don't hear every call that comes in. We don't see every email directly. So we need to have systems in place that tracks where that comes from. One, it's really important for us to say thank you to those people that are kind enough to refer us. We're really appreciative of that. You know, that's just gold, right? If someone has a good experience with us and they're willing to say good things to other people about us, we are so grateful and we want to show that appreciation. And then there's the other part where we want to know what kinds of places do we get our business from? Is it Google? Is it realtors? Is it financial advisors? Is it a networking group? Is it where, especially as we spend money on these things on our marketing, we want to know where to invest more and where maybe not to spend as much time or resources. Tracking leads, lead sources, and even we track down to the person's name and we try to tier it. So everyone, it fits into a certain category and then the names under those categories. So we can really look at and say, okay, a good portion of our business comes from this. I'll use a women's business league or provisors or a networking group. We can tell which one, how much we get and how many dollars. And we can really break it down to see, okay, where's our money being spent, our time being spent, and what are we getting for a return on that?
No,
Really valuable.
I love it. I cut you off there. I think I apologize. I think you said it's really valuable.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you have any examples of some changes that you made in how you are running your business or doing something, maybe a marketing campaign or something like that, based on some analysis of your data has shown you.
All the time in little incremental ways and maybe sometimes in bigger ways, trying to see, especially in the insurance industry, things are crazy right now. It's considered the hardest market in most people's memory. Premiums are through the roof. They're going to be even more painful in the next 12 months, they're predicting at least. So here's a great example of changing our workforce. We saw this coming. We knew that rates were predicted to go significantly higher. We reorganized our team and put 2 really incredible people on straight renewals. So their job is to go and review people's policies as they renew to make sure that they're in the best product at the best price. So we have 2 dedicated full-time people just looking at that information. And we have reports and systems that allow us to show us premium increases. So we can run reports, and then that we can use that as one of the tools for these really incredible team members to look at and say, okay, they're going up by 1%. That's pretty darn good. These people should be dancing right now in this market. But there's people going up 50, 100%. Right. And so we have reports that show us that, so we can make sure that we are all over those accounts, right? We look at them all, but we really make sure that anybody that's having a significant increase is getting really good proactive reviews of their policy. And are there things we can do to shop it with other carriers? Are there other additional discounts? Are there coverage changes that we can make to make things more potentially affordable or a benefit for people in tonight's market? So we completely restructured roles based upon data.
That's a pretty good change.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant change. Yeah. And that's really smart. And I'm not someone who comes from the insurance industry or anything, but I'm geeky. I like following it. And you're right. This market is just crazy. And here where we are up in the Northeast, it's not even as bad necessarily as Florida, Louisiana, California, other places in the United States.
Yeah, we're very fortunate right now for if you're feeling the pain of insurance, we're still significantly better than other parts of the country. So we're very grateful for that. And we still have many more choices to offer our clients. There's a lot of carriers who've gotten out of markets like California. They're just not writing any new business. there's still options in New Hampshire and Maine and Mass. We're able to provide good solutions for people. So
Yeah.
we're very lucky.
And I heard you say one of the ways you're using data is to be proactive in the sense of policy renewal review ahead of time. But also, it sounds, Lisa, like you're proactive also in the fact that you saw what's going on in the market. And you just said you restructured your entire team to be able to meet this upheaval in the market a lot better. All of that based on data.
And we think that's going to be really important, where there's a lot going on in terms of service levels and those things. And we want to make sure that those clients that really appreciate service will be their agency of choice, right? So if we can adjust our company to respond to trends and things going on in the marketplace, then we can be their agency of choice and hopefully build that long-term relationship with our clients. But that comes with knowing what's going on, and data is a key portion of that.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the data so often, there must have been a time or two when you were surprised by what you saw going on in the data, or something was happening that wasn't doing what you assumed it was going to be doing, or was pointing you in a direction that you had previously written off. Anything like that, and how you handled it?
There's always data that's surprising, and there's data that sort of confirms what your gut tells you, but maybe your gut didn't realize it was so significant. Or if it was, when we look at size of clients, for instance, on the commercial side, or we look at how the distribution of our accounts are, that always surprises me, how far north we are in Maine and all the way to northern New Hampshire, all the way through Massachusetts. And for me, like, that was a surprise, because our reach is much broader than most people think. Like, they only work with their local insurance agency. And we're finding that people, for instance, feel like we'll get clients that'll say from Portland, Maine, they'll say, oh yeah, you're off on the seacoast of New Hampshire. That's good enough. You're local enough. So people don't want to visit their insurance agency. They just want to know they could. And
Interesting.
yeah, and I think the data really proves that, based upon how spread out our clients are. You would think they would be heavily based in just Newbury or heavily based in just Rochester. They are not that way at all. They are heavily distributed across all 3 states. And it's fascinating to see, especially because we do a lot of networking in the Seacoast, to see how spread out the word of mouth has become, right? That people will own a business in one place and they'll own a house in another place, and maybe they own a second house in a third place. So our clients become very spread out very quickly. And to see that kind of data is very impactful, to understand where to focus, all of that, to see how do we do with Google, how do we do with internet searching, where are they coming from on that side of the house. I think it's a regular thing that when we look at things and you go, oh, even the small stuff, we'll do an email campaign and we'll get an incredible 42% open rate. And we've even had a significant response rate to some of those. That's eye-opening for us. You'll hear, and this number always drove me crazy when I was really focused on the marketing, of the 2% open rate, baloney. If you have a good qualified list, and it's all about the list, it's all about the messaging, it's all about the reason for the connection, right? It's all about the relationship with the client.
Exactly.
And so we have incredible open rates and we have incredible engagement rates. We're really grateful for that. And that stuff is important to see, because if people aren't interested and it doesn't provide them value, then you can stop doing it or do it differently. Because the whole goal, again, is it's about providing value for your clients. So all that matters. I know I'm talking in a whole bunch of circles, but for us, every bit is useful, and it may surprise you even in big or small ways, right?
Yeah. No, and I'm glad you've mentioned this a couple of times, the relationships that you've built with your clients. And I'm reflecting back to one of the first things you said at the beginning of our conversation here, talking about how you and your husband, your co-owner, were very intentional in wanting to be very tech focused, tech driven, that sort of, I'm paraphrasing you here.
You're right.
And now, several minutes later, we're talking about the fact that you're using that technology and you're using data to really build those stronger connections and those relationships with your clients. I think a lot of people might have thought that those two things would be an oxymoron.
No, they're
Sound like,
a necessity. In order to do a better job, you need better data. It's absolutely a requirement to provide a better relationship. You need technology that allows you to do that. You don't want me to say, hold on a second, I got to go pull your file out of filing cabinet 2 rooms over. You want me to have immediate access to your information and to really understand your account and to be able to engage with you in a way that creates value for you.
Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And thanks for that reflection also. Hopefully, others who are watching this or watching the replay are going to be able to think about this a little bit more. Numbers aren't necessarily just cold black and white.
Not at all. Not at all. They allow you to actually forge deeper connections.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And you just opened another office. So you're out on the seacoast in Rochester, but you just opened an office in Newmarket. So
the other way. We were Newmarket first.
Sorry, my apologies.
No, it's okay.
But you must be doing something right with the data if you all are you're expanding your footprint.
That's another form of data, right? We looked at where people are headed in the seacoast, and in Rochester is one of those places. There's a lot of growth and a lot of new opportunity heading that way, and we want to be part of that community. So we looked at the data. We looked at the hundreds and hundreds of units coming to Rochester. We looked at the new commercial builds in Rochester, and we see the prices of things and the direction that people are headed, and that just made logical sense. But we used data to make that decision.
Yep. I'm curious. So if you weren't using data to make decisions, how would you and your co-owner be making decisions?
I suppose you use intuition, right? If you didn't have data, right? And that's still based upon anecdotal data, right? You may not have the reports to pull, but you still are you're still paying attention to what you hear repetitively, what's come up more than once. So I think the systems allow you to do it better and more accurately and to more fine-grained detail, but you're still always using some kind of data to make decisions.
Yeah. Yep, that's a really good point. I talk about that in one of my classes too, that basically data can either be, for example, numbers, it can be text, it can be images. It's just a way of encapsulating some information about the world. Yep. And not quite in that way, but you said exactly, you said you and I agree. That there's data that is numbers and there's data that's like gut or instinct or anecdotal, and they both matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you and I are both business leaders who really like looking at numbers and really are using data in our respective businesses. But there are a lot of people that I've met, that I'm sure you've met, other business professionals who they aren't like you and me. They don't think that looking at your CRM reports or spreadsheets is fun, or making graphs or something is fun necessarily. But they do want to be more data driven. I wonder if you've got any advice you would give them.
Absolutely. I think you need to start, if you're not looking at any data, is to sit down and say, what do you want to know about your business and where do you want it to go? What information would be helpful to get there? And just pick it's the 80-20 rule, right? You pick the couple things that are going to make the biggest bang for your buck and just do that. You don't have to do everything. There's plenty of data that we have in our CRM systems that we never look at just because there's just too much there. We pick what we find is important and start there. And if it's one or two things, it's one or two more things that allow you to make better decisions. And to work with someone, if technology is not your thing, work with someone that can put something in place that makes it really simple to do that. So it's not daunting and it's not overwhelming and it's not time consuming, right? That's something that, maybe you can set it up so an email appears in your email box on the 28th of every month or whatever your thing is, right? Just make it simple. And I think that will change everything.
I like that. Just keep it simple. And the 80-20 rule. Absolutely. What's the 20% that's responsible for or is helping along the 80%? We are just about at time. So I wanted to ask you if you had any final thoughts that you'd like to share.
I'm just glad that you do this. I think business in business, it's so important to in such a great time that there's so much information that you can get. I'm old enough to remember some ways of actually having to count or track or tally or use paper for things, right? It's so easy now to have access to all kinds of data at your fingertips, right? Google searches and databases and your own systems and things that I think it's an exciting time for business professionals and business leaders to really think about data in a way that's helpful and creates value. I don't know, just a fun topic.
Thanks. I think it's fun too. I
Yeah.
think there's always more questions. And I like how you slid in there also that there's, even with all of the data that you had mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
that you all are looking at, there's a whole lot that you're not.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to look at every single piece of data. It's the
That's
ones that are going to move the needle. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other stuff's there if you need it, right? If all of a sudden maybe you have an employee that's struggling, okay, then maybe there's data there that can help figure out why. And you can provide tools to help them be more successful. Or there's all sorts of things that you can pull in on a case by case basis, but maybe you don't have to look at it all the time.
Yeah.
That's okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
Wonderful.
Listen, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day
My
to
pleasure.
talk to me about data. I really appreciate it. And for those of you watching on the replay, thank you so much for spending time. If you like it, give a thumbs up over on YouTube. And it is the time of year when a lot of people are doing forecasting. And I have a new short course out, Fearless Forecasting, that if you're interested in, I will have the link down below on my website so you can see exactly what I'll be guiding you through over 4 weeks. Other than that, I will say thank you again to Lisa. Thank you to
Thank you,
you.
Julie.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
More
This
than
was
welcome. My pleasure. And I'll catch you later.
nice to see you.